Loading. What's up, y'all? You know who it is. It is your boy Elijah Best. I'm the CEO and founder of Vet Boss, and I'm also known as Vet Boss. Let's go. Why are we doing this interview today? What's going on? Well, guys, as I was just telling Brett here, right now, after COVID and everything like that, we've all been so cooped up. And I know there's a lot of veterans who've been out of the service. When veterans get out of the military, we feel like we lose our military family. We feel a little disconnected. And now it's just a great time, especially with the summer. People are coming back out and people are feeling comfortable coming back out. And I just want to show you guys how many beautiful Americans we have out there that are literally reaching out to me and asking, what can I do to just get involved to help veterans? And Brett is one of those people. So I did a post yesterday in the Vet Boss Facebook group. I had my Tiger Style shirt on. And Brett reached out to me and said, Elijah, I just want to thank you. Your energy is amazing. I just want to thank you for what you're doing for veterans. And if there's anything I could do to get involved, this is what I do. And I would just love to help out. And we connected actually today. And I said, Brett, I would love to do an interview. I've been thinking that I really want to spice up the Vet Boss Facebook group with new energy, new face in there. And he has a way to help out veterans with stress. Now, I'm someone who's dealt with stress. I know a lot of you guys see me and I'm smiling and stuff like that. I'm sure you can imagine I deal with stress too because I'm a human. And I'm just saying I took a peek at Brett's techniques and they look phenomenal. They look very deep. I love getting deep. I think if we don't go deep, we're not really doing much. So Brett's going to come here. He's going to talk about this stuff. And Brett, could you just tell them a little bit about what you do, please?
Yeah, first of all, Elijah, thank you so much for having me on. You're a beast, my man. And I love what you do in the veteran community. Thank you so much for inviting me in for this moment with, the Vet Boss family. It's an honor. So I got into stress relief in 1999 from my own issues. I was, a nut with jealousy, anger, rage, right? A lot of that boiled down to my parents' divorce when I was 6. My father was a Marine Vietnam veteran. He was an M60 gunner. When he got back from the war, he married my mom. Then he joined the fire department in New York City, and he got caught up into the whole partying scene in the 70s and 80s in the New York City firefighter, police department, kind of like civil servant partying scene, right? So that's how he dealt with his issues from childhood, because he had a lot of trauma there before the war and everything that happened to him when he was in Vietnam. So it was messy. There was many years where he wasn't able to come to the house, right? And that's where I was left for about 2 to 3 years waiting on the front stoop. He would call and say he was on his way, and then he just wouldn't show. So I'd be there the whole weekend counting cars that go by. Every car I thought was him. So from age 6 to 9, that sadness was like overwhelming, right? Totally overwhelming. And when I was around 12 to 15, it turned into anger, got in a lot of trouble. And then from 16 on with relationships with women, that transformed into jealousy, right? So when I was 27 in 1999, right, to reel it all in, I got referred to a healer by the grace of God. I was living in California and I drove out to Sedona, Arizona. And after sitting down with this guy for 5 minutes, the cellular memories bubbled up from my body to my conscious mind of my parents arguing when I was 5 years old in the first house that I grew up in. And when this happened, I was looking down at the carpet. This wasn't the carpet that we had at the second house. This was like the carpet. I haven't even thought of that house in God knows how long. Like I looked down and I was there. And then I'm watching my father and mother argue. And it's the same thing that I would do in all my arguments with women since I was 16, how he was grinding his teeth, clenching his fists. My mother was arguing wildly with her hands and, her arms were up and everything. And I was just like, holy shit, this is where I soaked it all in. This was where the pattern started. And as that session went on, that was only the first 5 minutes. As that session went on, layers of jealousy started to unlock and release from my body and my heart. Underneath that was the anger and rage. Underneath that was the sadness. And underneath that was the fear of abandonment. And when that unlocked and released, my life changed forever. And since 1999, when I was exposed to this healing energy, I decided I'm going right at it. And I never looked back. And every day I meditate on the energy in that session. That session reconnected me with myself, and my tools help people reconnect with themselves, 22, 23 years later.
Brett, you just blew my mind.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for allowing me to share, some of my story, man. Seriously.
Well, it's important because a lot of us our mess can always look worse to our own selves, and we think that other people don't have similar messes. And it always takes a beast like you to just share the mess, so other people can just say, "Okay, enough nonsense." Someone else is going through it. I don't mean nonsense. I don't like talk that makes us beat up on ourselves. It's unnecessary. But what I'm saying is, thank you for doing that. And then secondly, I know everybody knows Brett's the real deal, but I'm just going to put my little 2 cents in, if I may. I'm a testimony of what Brett's talking about. So like, literally, what Brett says, when you guys see this positive energy and all this, I was not always this way at all by any means. It's through moments like that happening to me and doing that. So Brett, I'm very eager to continue this interview because I know the audience doesn't know, but I've actually had the chance to see slides, so I know that he has like actual practical ways to go about helping people with this stuff. So we're going to be sharing those slides, and then stay tuned to the end because he's going to give you guys a whole bunch of free resources. He said that his company gets a little mad with him sometimes because he's just so generous, and I love that. So, Brett, is there anything you want? I'm loaded with questions, but is there any direction that you were going to go in before I ask you a question?
Yeah, I just want to say, to kind of like summarize everything I just said before, we all have a ton of issues, right? On this planet, we're a bag of mixed nuts, right? And it's like, you just got to love it, right? Love it, starting with yourself. So my whole process, my whole mission, my whole life really since 1999 has been identifying where I'm holding baggage and tension and emotion in my body and opening it up to unconditional love and feeling that tension and that baggage unlock and release from my body as it clears my subconscious mind. And you really start to perceive the environment with a lot more clarity, calmness, and you're able to face high stress situations with authenticity. So that's really what the message I want to get through to your audience, that number one, it ain't your fault. We all have a ton of shit. And it's just, how do we embrace it, love it, and let it go so you could be the real you?
Priceless. Okay. Now, Elijah's a note taker, and if you're watching this interview, I hope you're taking notes too, because we're about to take some notes. I think you just mentioned 3 steps, because that's really it. You nailed that process. All I got down was identifying where, and I stopped writing. Can you say that part again, please?
All right. So I think what do you think about jumping into the slide for the stress stopper breath work?
Let's do it.
And we could jump right into that.
Let's do it. The next slide, right? Or is this?
Yeah, I think it was the next slide.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So if you go into that, so this is what I would love for you to do. And I know some of you guys and gals are going to be like, this is corny, this is stupid, but just trust me, it freaking works. So whenever you get upset, whenever you get stressed or anxious, take your right hand and touch the tension in your body. For me, it's my heart. When I get stressed, that's where it is. Because some people, it's their stomach. When you have tension in your stomach, it's usually stuff that you were pushing down for years and not saying. For me, I wear my heart on my sleeve. There's not much I keep down. So a lot of my tension's around my heart whenever I get stressed out. So first step, touch the tension, right? Second step, breathe deep and slow. And the third step is once per breath, silently say, I'm okay, until all the tension goes away. Now, it might take 3 minutes, 4 minutes for that tension to release from your body when you first start practicing the technique. But I promise you this, after a month of practice, you will be able to release stress in freaking seconds. It's incredible because your body, you get so in tune with your body's super smart. Sometimes it actually knows when the stress is about to trigger. Sometimes like your body will start to get stressed and you're like a little tense. And then all of a sudden that trigger will show up, that stressor will show up because your body is really smart. It can kind of sense it happening. You get so tuned into your body, you're starting to hear your body's signals. And when you do that, that's when you touch the tension, breathe deep and slow. Once per breath, silently say, I'm okay. And seriously, like I said, within seconds, the time shrinks as you practice the technique because you're getting muscle memory, just like when you go into the gym, just like when you're practicing a sport or learning how to use a tool. The muscle memory, the connections get strong in your brain and all throughout your body. So what happens is you're manually shifting gears from the fight or flight reaction to the relaxation response. and you're using 3 techniques at the same time. It's like a 1-2-3 punch that knocks the stress out. So that's what I want you to practice. And a great time to practice is when you're going to sleep at night. Put one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly button, close your eyes, breathe deep and slow. Once per breath, silently say, I'm okay. You'll be out in like 5 minutes. When you wake up in the morning, take 3 minutes and do it. And then the real deal is when you're at the plate in the top of the ninth, right? 2 outs, and you're right there. That's the heat of the moment. That's when you want to whip out the technique. When your spouse is annoying you, when something's going on with the kids, when you're in traffic, when you're in line, when you're having financial stress, that's when I want you to use the technique, because that's when it counts most. So that's stressed upper breath work.
I hate to be that guy to state the obvious, but guys, I'm actually really gonna apply this. So like when I go to bed, I'm actually gonna put my hand over my heart and my belly button. I'm gonna take a deep breath and say I'm okay.
Breathing,
Very confident. Go ahead.
breathing deep and slow. It's the repetition. So deep and slow, once per breath, silently saying I'm okay. And I swear to God, it like within like 5 minutes, you're out. Right. And even people that have sleep disorders, they always email me or call me the next day. Like, I can't believe how quick I got to sleep. I stayed asleep for the whole night. Some people tell me it's the first time they had a good night's sleep in 10 years. So like this really works. You know, this really works. You're addressing physical tension in your body, right? Which is where the trauma is lodged, where the memories of trauma is stored, right? So when you touch there with the calm cells in your hand, there's a transference. The tension and the emotion starts to find equilibrium, because every cell is pre-programmed for stress and homeostasis. Our cells want to let go. So when you make contact like that and you start breathing deep and slow, your body's like, oh, thank God, this is finally happening. I finally can relax. And your cells open up and release the tension. So I encourage you to play with it, practice it, master it. And the other techniques that go deeper for trauma, for anxiety, it's all based on this technique. There's many applications for this technique, even getting over phobias, meditating, a ton of stuff. But this is the core protocol and practice. And it's also certified by the American Institute of Stress.
The reason why I'm so like pumped up and I really like am encouraging people to do this, because like I've been accidentally, and comment below if you've been accidentally doing little pieces of this and seen your life change dramatically and you kind of like forgot or like let it go and just didn't make it a daily practice. I've done that and I just know this works. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
My pleasure.
Do you mind if we share the iceberg photo?
Yeah, we could definitely go into that. And then I was just thinking, like, I also want to share the anxiety freedom technique too. I know we were going to jump to the traumatic memory release, but if after the iceberg, if we could go into the anxiety freedom technique, I think that'd be really good.
Let's follow your order. You want to do that one first, or?
Sure. No, let's do the iceberg. We're all good with that, because that kind of like provides a framework. Right?
Okay. Cool.
So my main philosophy is we have 2 core stress types, right? You have routine stress. That's like the stuff that's like predictable, like clockwork. That's all the stress that we see. That's when you come home from work or when you're on your way to work. It's the stuff that's happening day in and day out, right? Then you have repressed stress. And these are all the hidden pains that were logged in the back of our subconscious mind, that our brain said, I don't want to think about that anymore because it's going to be too hard to move forward with everyday life. So I'm going to repress it and shelf it, put it in the closet. That's our baggage, right? Those are unresolved traumatic memories, right? And the memories that are in there, if they come to light and they activate tension or emotion or stress, then you know that there's still trauma imprinted on the memory, right? So if we go into some of the iceberg, we go down there, right? Yeah. Those traumatic memories, right? That could be, and this is wild. I know that there's a lot of vets, in the Vet Boss family, right? Mm-hmm. When I do my retreats at the Omega Institute and other places, and a lot of veterans and first responders come, a lot of times we're going past their time of service. We're dealing with issues they had with their parents, traumas, assaults, near-death experiences from childhood. So that's why the bottom of the iceberg, you see issues with parents, siblings, bullies, divorce, abuse, school, right? And then you have this kind of like at the heart of the iceberg, underneath the waterline, you have all those traumatic childhood memories during our formative years. And then those things form beliefs. And the beliefs kind of put our stress reaction on high alert, right? And that's why we have misperceptions and overreactions. Okay. So I want to throw this quick stat out, to the Vet Boss family, right? 90% of our mental processing happens below the conscious level. That's crazy. So if you think about your waking hours of your day, whether you're awake for, 15 hours a day, let's say, right? 90% of your decisions that you go throughout your waking day are made on the underneath the subconscious level. That's pretty crazy. So when you think about our stress reactions before the pandemic, the average person got stressed 52 times. I'm guessing it's like double since the pandemic because of all the fear of the unknown that's just thrown at us, all the loss that we've had to incur. So what's it around? Like 100, 110 now, stress reactions. And then so many of those are based on unconscious, subconscious processing that we're not directly aware of. How many times have you been stressed out? You're like, I don't even know why I'm stressed out, because that stuff is just building up. So when we get to those core 3 or 4 unconscious, subconscious memories, right, that are the repressed stress, what we do is we use stressed upper breath work to release all the anxiety, all the shame, all the guilt, all the panic, all the fear from those memories by activating the relaxation response while we hold those traumatic memories in mind. And after like 15 or 20 minutes, all the trauma just releases. All right. So that's part of the special sauce of the stress is gone method. How we go into the past and release the tension from it. And the cool thing is, I always felt, and I remember like it was yesterday when I was writing the PTSD workbook for veterans that has all these tools in it. I was like, should I put this in the workbook? And then I was like, the thought just hit me. When you give a tool to a veteran, they could do any job as long as it's the right tool, right? Now, getting over our past is not an easy job, but with the right tool, I feel every veteran could do it, So that's, so that's just a little bit of perspective, kind of like looking at it in the iceberg, right? You got your routine stress that we see and the repressed stress that's underneath that waterline that we don't see, that we kind of shelved in our closet.
Brett, that's all powerful. And it brings me to a question. Have you ever experienced somebody recall a memory and replace it with the stress is gone method? And then after they healed from that memory, have you just seen like their overall behavior just change?
So 99% of the time, what happens is the person is less reactive in the environment. So life definitely changes. So when we do this work and when I do this work live, right? So there's another component to the live work that I do. There's an intuitive component where I'm actually calling in more of their spirit and plugging it into where the pain lived. So they feel like a divine reconnection to their own soul. And that really is very healing. Now the stuff in the book and the stuff in the techniques, that's just for someone to do that's like self-healing, self-love. It's all beautiful. But when I do the retreats and workshops, we go deeper, calling in their own spirit. That was a little bit difficult for me to figure out how to put into words. So I just put the techniques really simple, clear that anyone could follow. But the behaviors definitely change because what happens is, let's say your spouse, let's say you're a male and your wife is triggering you like crazy. When you work with me and you do this work, you actually go into the issues that you had with your mom. And when you heal all of that with the issues you have with the female archetype, when your wife or your spouse, when they're doing the same things that they were doing yesterday before you were healed, there's no more emotion and no more pain for their actions to ping on in you. So that karmic dance stops because you broke the chains. So what I'm saying is they'll do the same thing, but it won't drive you crazy. You might sit back and have a little inner chuckle, not outward laughing, but little inner chuckle, and then compassion for yourself and compassion for them, because even they are coming out of pain when they're acting that way. Right. So it all comes down to unconditionally loving ourselves where we were in deep pain and then letting that out in the moment where that present day pattern was manifesting from the past, letting that love and compassion out for ourselves and whoever is mirroring that pattern for us. So it definitely changes the behavior.
Brett, do you not see the flames? Do you see people going crazy right now?
No, I don't. I don't.
People are losing their minds right now. I'm so glad you're touching on this. I'm really not trying to talk about myself. It's just the only way I know how to confirm what you're saying is through my personal experience. My life has felt better than I've ever felt, and it's because I've been doing exactly what you just said. Healing family stuff, and then it manifesting in my personal life with other people into where I'm not even affected. What's up, Marquise? What's up, y'all? Let's go. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, so your point, I love it. And that's one of the things, like when I sensed your energy, I'm like, someone doesn't just get that, you know what I mean? Because we all have stuff that happens to us when we're children, teenagers, you know what I mean? That's when I saw you on that, that post you did the other day, I'm like, this guy did work as an adult on himself to reconnect with that spirit, and it's authentic, and you see that, and that's why I contacted you. So thank you for sharing that with what you were talking about from your life, and that was what got me into this work. Like that realness. That first session, it was all about me getting over, me bringing unconditional love to my parents arguing, where I learned that whole behavior, and then unlocking and releasing and being present and feeling everything that was coming up out of my body and just opening up to self-love, right? Because you can't go wrong with self-love because it's not dependent on someone else. We're all people. We all screw up, right? I screw up with my wife. She screws up with me. It's all good. I mean, we're human. This is part of the human experience. We're mirrors of each other, right? But with me, that's like that unconditional self-love is like the thing that I could always rely on to open up my heart to it. Whenever I'm feeling in pain, whenever I'm upset with myself, that love is always right there because I reconnected with it. And it's so real for me, So that's what I would just encourage, the audience here and, and everyone that's in, your audience is just love yourself with reckless abandonment, like reckless abandonment. I went after it. And, some of the people that I work with, I try to be as crystal clear as I can. Like I went after this, like I went after this like a bloodhound or like a tiger, you know what I'm saying? I was laser focused on getting to the deepest layers of myself and loving that stuff and melting the iceberg.
I'm sorry. I just keep getting excited about what you're saying. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this. My process looked crazy. My healing process, if there was cameras watching the whole process, it would have looked intense, right? Easy for me. But what I'm saying is I think each person, when they start this process of self-healing, I think as soon as things get a little crazy in their life, they think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. So I'm curious, guys, I never talked about this with Brett. I'm curious. Do you think that it shows up a little crazy in someone's life and they should keep going if they're chasing it like a bloodhound? Or do you think that if things get rocky, that's abnormal and that's something that you didn't experience?
For me, it was rocky because you're surfacing all the shit. And so I didn't mean to curse, but you're surfacing you're going into the closet and like opening up the door, and the closet door is basically busted down anyway, but you're opening the door and the stuff is just flying into the room. So it's like opening up your heart. And I'll tell you, like in 2005, my son's mother was pregnant with my, firstborn child. Right. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I already left all the corporate stuff behind, and I was just doing this healing work on the street in New York City. Mm-hmm. Like that was it. But she got pregnant and I was like, shit, I got to get a job now. Right. So I'm looking, and the job's not coming through. And I got pissed at God. I went down to the water. I was going off on God. Basically, whenever I had issues with God, I go to the water and I just get it out. And I'm talking to him directly, or whatever she is, whatever it is. Right. And I turn around because I hear some family like in the distance behind me saying something. And then they're pointing, everyone's looking up. And I look up and I'm like, holy shit. There was a huge rainbow going across the water. And then underneath it, I never seen a double rainbow. There was a double rainbow, but the underneath one was broken. It wasn't complete. It was like 65% complete. And I was like, okay, I got chills telling you the story. I'm like, all right, so I get it now. Okay, you got me. You got me. I'm under your wing, but I'm not complete yet. and to trust. And then like 3 days later, the job came through. I went to work for a Fortune 30 company that jump-started my corporate career. So yeah. Like, and it gets messy. It gets messy. Like with the people I coach, I say, listen, if you're in close quarters with your spouse and it's getting heated, just tell them, look, I need to take a 5-minute breath break. This conversation is super important to me, but I want to bring my best self to it. I'm just going to go outside, walk, vent, and come back. And then when they go outside, they are venting without any censors or judgment. And even when you're angry, you don't have to yell, but as long as you're mouthing the words and saying the words, the tension starts to release from your chest. Mm-hmm. And that goes into the anxiety freedom technique that I was mentioning earlier. It helps you express your core emotions. And that's the key. If you could express your core emotions, your core fears, and then come back, to the situation with a clear head, man, there's no stopping you. If you could find the presence to break through and break the chains right there.
No, sorry. I was just thinking that one of the things that you're mentioning that is just so powerful is I think that right now we're living in a time where people in our environment suppress us from communicating our emotions. So I don't know if this book was on PTSD, but I was reading some book and it said basically a lot of the reasons why a lot of us are stressed is because if a rabbit is running in the field and a fox comes out, that rabbit can spaz out, act however it needs to act in the moment. But when you're at work and your boss is being disgusting to you and you're actually correct, but you just have to eat it and you want to punch him in the face or scream at him or whatever it is, don't get in trouble, guys. You're suppressing that emotion. And I think to release it, you got to actually say, you might have to say, if you have kids that lower the volume, you might have to say like, fuck you, guy, or whatever it is that you really suppressed at that moment. You may need to say that.
So you bring up an awesome point because a lot of us are in this situation regularly, right? Where you can't actually just say how you feel to the person's face because that's actually going to make it worse, right? So believe me, I tried. So, so in the modern world, this is kind of where we're screwed. Our default settings of our stress reaction are older than dirt, literally caveman days, right? We don't need a 2.0. We need a 3 or 4.0, right? Upgrade on our stress reaction. So what's happening is our fight or flight is triggered. So when your boss comes over to your desk or like in a Zoom, whatever, and your stress is triggered, your body wants to run or fight to stay alive. That's the two options. That's what's going on. When you sit still and don't say anything, your body goes into panic mode. Your cells are like, oh my God, she's not doing anything. What's going on? Listen to me. So that's why we say take a walk. Because when you take a walk right now, your stress reaction goes, okay, they listen to me. They're going on the flight. They're going on the flight track, right? Wow. Then when you verbalize your feelings, now you're letting out all of the built up trauma, emotion, fear out of it, right? Now you're really unlocking the tension. And when you do that, the mind clears. That's when you turn back around and go back into the situation and face it with a clear head and to generate an authentic response to the moment, right? An authentic response to the moment. But yeah, so that's what I would suggest for people, to do. And I'll tell you this, what's happening at work is a mirror of the family you grew up in. Your boss or your coworker is probably one of your siblings or your cousins. Your supervisor is either your mother or your father. And it is a mirror of those images, of those relationships, of those patterns that you grew up with, all those repressed stuff. Talking about repressed stuff, how much stuff did we repress when we were kids, So, and never process, those traumas. So those people that stress you out are your best teachers. Get the mileage you deserve out of those relationships. Get the gold out of those relationships.
And how would you tell somebody to get the gold, sir?
Oh, embrace your emotions. Not sit there and like throw up the finger, right? Not do that, but be like, all right, I hear you. Thank you. When the meeting's over, then you go for a walk right there. And then you're really genuinely just expressing your emotions. You don't got to yell them, but really feeling your emotions. If you got to cry, sit the hell down and cry. I probably cry once every 3 months. Guess how long it lasts? Maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds. But I feel that. And when I was a kid and when I was, in my early 20s, I would never cry because I thought I would never stop. Right. But once you open up the floodgates and then you bring the love in, that time of crying goes shorter and shorter and shorter. But crying is like the emotional car wash. It is a necessity on this planet. And if you deprive yourself of crying and that emotional car wash, you're going to be driving around with a dirty car, man. You know what I'm saying? And it is really important to allow yourself the space for your emotions to cleanse themselves. Like I said, the cells want to let go. Your body, your soul, it wants to let go of all this heavy baggage we're walking around with. And we all are walking around with baggage, right? It wants to let go. So let it let go. You could be driving your car, you hear a song. This happens to me. I hear a song and I just start crying. I'm like, oh my God, it felt so good. And when I'm done, I feel so clear and grounded in my body. So I encourage you guys to be available to whatever's coming up. And if you have a person in your life that's bringing a lot up, create that personal space, that boundary, and let it all out. Let it come up and come back, and then come back. And then that person is cleansing you. That person's healing you. Think of it that way, please. Because you break the chain. You break the cycle when you do that. You clear the karma.
If there was a video that explained to everybody what I was doing in the background to grow my business, it would be in this video. It's this video. It's everything you're talking about. People get so caught up on the strategies and the tips. If you have a whole bunch of emotional baggage from your childhood and you're just not letting yourself cry, if you keep trying to take your business to the next level, you will explode. I really feel like that. That's when bad things happen. Guys, oh my gosh, Brett, I want to thank you so much. I like to keep these short and sweet.
Yeah.
Brett, would you like to come back here sometime and do this
again? I would love to, man. If your audience wants to go through the anxiety freedom technique or the traumatic memory release technique, I'm down. We even have something called the TNT, the transform negative thoughts technique, which is a lot of fun too. So I'm down to come back whenever. I love what you do, and this was awesome. Spending time with you, man. Seriously. Oh, and all right, so the Facebook group that I run, that's like your Facebook group, not as big and robust, but it's still a great little group, is called Stress Is Gone. Okay, so just look up the group Stress Is Gone. It's a private group. Click join. I'll let you in. And then it's like a good free-for-all. Like, you ask questions. I teach in there once a week, just like some of the topics we discussed today. I, talk about them for a half hour every Wednesday at 6 p.m. So it's a lot of good stuff happening in there. A lot of real talk, just like tonight.
Just like tonight. You seem like someone that's like pretty much all you can do. You're so authentic. That's really good.
Brother, thank you, man. I'm just another another hobo on the train. You know what I mean? Just trying to do the right thing out there,
So humble. One person said, hard for military and service workers like police and firemen. What is a tip that you would give to someone who has kind of like a traumatic job to where they're seeing crazy stuff like almost daily?
Okay, the culture of the job is not going to help you. You have to help you. You have to help you, right? My father was a fireman. I have friends that are firemen. I've worked with cops. I have friends, family members that are cops. The environment is one that is, it's not going, and hopefully it's changing. I hear slowly it's changing, but it's got so long to go. I've had one of my uncles who passed away 3 years ago. He was in Army Special Ops for 33 years. He was in 36 operations around the world. Like he could never say he was under any stress ever. Okay. Ever. Mm-hmm. Because then he wouldn't get activated for the next mission. So it is counterproductive. So realize that the healing will not come from the culture. It's got to come from within you. Your decision to reach out. And I encourage you to get this mobile app, the Stress Is Gone mobile app. It's free. It will set up your meditation practice, which is whenever you're free, you set up, it reminds you, and that stress stopper breath work guides you through a 5-minute meditation, 10-minute, whatever you can do. Then get this, it predicts your routine stress. So it will pop up on your phone, that stress stopper breath work 3 minutes before your typical stressors pop up in your face, right? So you get to relax your body so you can be more authentic when it happens. And then there's a resolve tab on that app too, that helps you identify the earlier memories that are fueling your present day stress, and it helps you resolve the trauma in there. So I encourage you to get the Stress Is Gone mobile app. And I'll say this, you are the most important thing. You must be on the top of your totem pole. You are not number one on anyone else's totem pole. So you must put yourself at number one, whether you have 10 kids or 0 kids or 100 subordinates or 0 people that report to you, you have got to be number one, because if you're not, everyone else in your life is getting a subpar version of you. When you put yourself number one, you're getting the best out of you, and so are they, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. So take the initiative, take your own inner healing on your own. Don't buy into the cultural biases of the job. You are more than the job. You are a person, you're an individual, and ultimately your spirit and your life force in this body. So take ownership of the body and everything that got absorbed into this body, and just slowly start unlocking it and releasing it. And the moment will be the master. The moment will be like, oh shit, I'm really stressed. That's when you embrace it right there in the moment. You don't got to figure out any schedule for it. When you get upset, that's when you give yourself a moment to breathe, to embrace it with your breath, and just to say what you're feeling. It takes a minute or two. Once you do that, you break through the chains. You break open, and you're giving yourself an upgrade right there, from the caveman stress reaction to 4.0 in the modern era. And that's what I'd love for you guys to do.
This person just said, this will take some time for this transformation. And I'm so happy they said that, because that means that you get it. And it's simple. It may feel like chewing on glass at times. I'm not trying to scare you, because, not doing it feels worse. But I'm telling you, after doing this for years, it's real. Like, you can actually wake up and feel. I used to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I got to do this again. And I'm telling you, when you apply everything that Brett has just talked about today, you will feel like you're making real progress.
Right. And guys, there's no finish line. I'm so glad that person just said that comment.
Yeah.
You're not done. You're just beginning. It is a journey. This is a journey where it's like, if you're a bus driver, you could either be the bus driver that's really stressed out trying to get to every stop, or you could be the bus driver that's noticing all the surroundings, enjoying putting on a good song, and still making every stop on time, right? It's how you're going through the journey. So it's almost like your stress no longer drives you. Your stress is providing a moment for you to freaking love yourself by breathing and expressing how you feel. That's how simple it is. Okay. If you just kind of crystallize it in the most simplest form. And if you want to share it in your group, you could share the AFT document so they can print that up and have it on their own and just practice it on their own.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I will drop that in the comments. And
Cool.
I want to kind of recant one of my statements. So I kind of said it's like chewing on glass. I'm not gonna lie, for me it was like that.
It is hard.
Yeah,
it is hard.
After going through this experience, though, I do feel like if I had the experience I had now, I could have gone through it more like the bus driver with the music and this stuff. So I guess just something for people to consider. And then Brett, I would like your 2 cents on this. Is like, we're $50, we'll say. When you're going through the process, you can make it sweet while you're going through the journey. What is your take on that?
Can you say that again? When you're going through the process?
When you're going through the process, you can make it sweet.
Oh, because the moment when you loving the pain, you're reconnecting with the most stable, only thing controllable in the universe is what's going on inside your body. Once you figure that out, and once you start to navigate the rudder behind you, and you can start to steer your way into that, and you start to understand how it works, like once you start to feel pain, you put your hand there and you start embracing it. The feelings of self-love are like the best freaking chocolate chip cookies straight out the oven that you could ever get your hands on. And like, that's the moment, and it becomes timeless, and it's all you. That's the beauty. There's no pill. There's no yoga class. There's no gym. There's nothing you have to do besides be in the moment with you. You reconnecting with you. And that's when the love starts to come through, and all the pain starts to dissipate and break away and unlock and release and let go. Right? Mm-hmm. So when people say, if it's love, it'll come back, right? The pain unlocks and release is gone forever. That layer. Now, there's multiple layers to the game, like playing Asteroids or Space Invaders, right? Yeah. So like when you work on one stressor, that stressor, like let's say that one issue with the spouse or the kid, that goes away, but something else pops up. And then you use the same technique. Now you're developing muscle memory for getting over issues. And you go deeper and deeper and deeper. After a while, you have gone through the field and pulled out all the landmines. which are those old traumatic memories. And now you could play football on that field. You could play volleyball. You could have a catch with your kid playing. You could do whatever you want. You could lay out and just take some sun. It's a safe place. And that's where I would love for you people to get.
Brett, once again, that was phenomenal. That was priceless. Thank you so much. I definitely want to have you back here. Guys, I told Brett, I said, hey, normally we stop around 25 minutes. And I allowed it to keep going. I mean, I thank you, Brett, for even being willing to stay here. But it was so great that I just didn't even want to stop it. So I'm definitely looking forward to being able to do this again.
Bro, this was awesome for me. Thank you so much for having me on, man. Seriously. You have no idea. I love sharing the tools and the message. And, you know, I just feel it's a great match, you know. So, yeah, have me back anytime, man. Just let me know.
Thank you so much. Guys, please, if you have any takeaways, post them below so we can get this conversation going. I would love to hear what you guys think. And feedback is always welcome. I love you guys. Vet Boss. We're out. And don't forget to join Stress Is Gone Facebook group if you would like some more information from Brett Cotter.
Much love, guys. Be good.
Peace. Oh, hold on. Someone said app. And what's the name of the app?
Stress Is Gone.
Stress Is Gone app. So is that on the Apple Store, Android Store,
Yep,
and all that?
both. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
It's actually, I think the icon is a hand, two hands holding each other, like in the peace sign, like that.
Perfect.
So in the you know, like the yin yang sign. That's what it looks like.
Oh, okay. Cool. Sweet. All right, guys.